Welcome back to the Industrial Insights Podcast. I have V with Texas today, and we're talking about WMS systems and a lot of his experience when it comes to what got him into the software side of the business, because I think that will be really helpful to give people context of where V's coming from and some of his insights that he brings to the table. So V, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, hey Justin, happy to be here.
Yeah, and
So
V comes
I
to
guess you
us
started
from,
by.
yeah, get in there, V.
So my name's V. I'm at Texas Inc. We're a software company based out of Montreal in Canada. We make supply chain software for a lot of different industries. We're pretty big in healthcare, but also in 3PL, as well as other general and complex distribution. So I'm responsible for what we call our elite suite of software. So we've got our WMS, our WCS, our WES. And most recently, I've taken on some responsibility around our AI agenda for our products as well. But maybe just to start, I'll tell you how I got into the software world,
Please
because it
do.
kind of happened by accident. So before this, I was a warehouse manager, very much an ops guy, spent a lot of time in supply chain, in manufacturing, transport, as well as warehousing, and then even some head office coordination of different 3PL vendors that we were using. But in my most recent role as a warehouse manager, I just was not very happy in that role. The company I was working for hired me to implement a new WMS, but that project just never materialized. And a couple years into the role, I was starting to get bored and was looking on to or looking to take on more challenges like that. So I started reaching out to people in my network, and someone that I worked with before at SAP was working at Texas. And at the time, I didn't know what Texas did at all. Just her name's Sarah. And Sarah was just a cool person. And I saw her name on LinkedIn and I was like, I'm just going to say hi to Sarah. I don't know where she's working, but I don't think anything's going to materialize out of it. But she's so cool. I want to say hi. And so I reached out and we started chatting. And Sarah starts asking me about my job. And I'm like, hey, well, the people are good, but I hate the system. A project to put in a new system is not materializing. I'm actually looking for something new. And she's like, what system are you talking about? I'm like, oh, it's a WMS. And she starts asking me some more detailed questions about the WMS. And I'm like, why is Sarah, who I worked with at an ERP company, asking me about these questions about the WMS I'm using? And then out of nowhere, she's just like, hey, well, I work at a software company at Texas, blah, blah, blah. We do this. Do you want to work in software development? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you know, we have some roles open in our product team, and I think you'd be a good fit. You understand the end user. And so she set up a call with the company CEO. And I kind of went backwards in my interview, started off with the CEO,
Yeah.
followed by the VP director, and lastly with HR. But I ended up here just because they had a need for someone with my talent. And we happened to talk at the right time, and it all worked out.
You'd make a great commercial real estate broker, V. So if you ever need another job, yeah, that's how it goes. That's how we look for assignments. And then the best case scenario, you start at the top.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but it worked out that way.
You got to have a pretty good feel that you're a good fit if you make it there right away and then work your way down.
Yeah, and actually the interesting thing for me was learning about the function of product management.
Yes,
So prior to working here, I didn't know what a product manager at a software company did. I didn't know anything about the function at all.
I
So I
don't.
started off.
Or be, you can be liberal with what it is. I could use this education too.
Okay, so the way I describe my job to kind of friends and family is my job is to describe how a warehouse works to developers that have never set foot in a warehouse or used software in a warehouse. Obviously we've got developers with 40 years experience writing our WMS, they know it really well. But ultimately my job is to envision how we can solve the pain points that someone in a warehouse feels using software and just be able to imagine a solution and be able to describe that to someone who can actually build it.
Yes.
So
That's a
acting as
big
that
gap. That's
bridge.
a huge chasm.
Yeah. And I've been in product management for 4 years now, and it's constantly learning around how to communicate better. It's my problem on day one was communication, and my biggest problem today is still communication.
I'd say you're very articulate. That's surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's when you describe the way something works to someone, At the end of that conversation, you both leave like you're on the same page. Then that person goes and builds it, and then you realize that the way you described it was not exactly what you had in your head. So the communication, even between your brain and what you're articulating out, you could lose something there. What that person, the next person is absorbing, you lose another step there. And then you build it, and that's when you see something real. And now you can talk about what the real gaps are. So it's been a continuous learning effort to refine that process and just learning how to communicate those needs better.
in a way that they can turn that into what is useful for the end user. Yeah. That might be repeated tens of thousands and millions of times further down the road.
Exactly, right? And so we always talk about the user experience and making sure we're designing it in a way that users love using the product.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard thing to do. And you think about something simple like picking, right? And just the workflows involved in a warehouse where you have to go pick product. Just thinking about what the user sees and how they're directed and how they interact. It's actually a really fun thing to think about how you can design that to be the most enjoyable process as possible while ensuring accuracy, while ensuring efficiency. So there's a lot of thought that goes into that software development side that, at least for me as a warehouse manager, I had not even thought about all of that work that the software company is doing.
It's like you can optimize for experience too. It doesn't just have to be for dollars and for time and for
Yeah,
speed.
no, for sure. And for us as a software company, the people we're selling our product to are rarely the end users of our product. They're not the people in and out of the system all day. And for me, at least, I'm pretty passionate about making sure we design products for the end user while still being able to sell to those other people and the buying personas we have to be thinking about. But
Yes.
ultimately, we have to create products that people love using and generate that pull for.
Yeah. It must be fulfilling to see changes flow through and then get feedback from people who are using it and like go full circle with it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially now today with a SaaS product, the feedback cycle for traditional WMSs, at least for us, has drastically improved. Right in the past, just with I'll talk about the industry as a whole for WMSs. A lot of WMSs were on prem, so you're buying one specific version of the product. You're installing it, that's what you're using until you schedule a big upgrade project, buy the new version of the product and install it. And it's a huge project, probably months to a
We're
year
still doing that?
in doing that. There are still companies doing that,
Okay.
right? But so in that environment, getting that feedback loop was really hard because you'd install it, you'd start using the product, you'd say, okay, V, you need to go fix this. I'd listen and say, okay, I fixed one, two, and three. Well, you've got to go sign up for an upgrade now. Buy our latest
You'll
version if
see
you
that
want to
in
get
5
that.
years.
Yeah. But now with SaaS, all of our new customers are going on to our SaaS platform. We're migrating most of our old customers into our new SaaS platform as well. We're doing 4 releases a year. Within 3 months of me releasing a feature, I'm already getting feedback from customers, and we're able to iterate and improve on that really quickly. That's been actually really important for us, kind of in the context for you guys, is for greenfield projects. So when we're designing a warehouse from scratch, we've encountered gaps right away where we've said, okay, this portion of it we need to develop software for, but now we're able to align that with the whole greenfield build as well and get that software delivered in parallel. Because again, it's SaaS. You can start the project, whatever is missing, we'll deliver it. We've got 3-month cycles where we can deliver that additional feature that's needed. So we've had a few greenfield projects that the SaaS model have worked really well for us.
Can you dig into that a little bit? Like, it's so funny. Real estate folks don't talk about Greenfield and Brownfield or stuff like that. Where once I started doing some like a network design, I was like, what? And like, it took a minute to think of like a new construction versus like a new building that's new to a client. And, uh,
Yeah.
and so it's just different terminology that I get now, but like, it confuses people sometimes that aren't in
Wow.
it. Yeah.
That's shocking to me. I just always assumed it was like real estate terminology that we stole.
No, it's totally like we're like, "Huh, what? You green like we're talking like, we're buying land and we're building something new?" And then you're like, "Well, not necessarily." Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the context of Greenfield is simply you're designing a warehouse from scratch,
Yep.
not necessarily having to build it,
Yep.
but the warehouse layout is brand new. You're probably having to put up racking at a very minimum
Yep.
around that warehouse, but it's a net new project. You're determining the layout. You're not inheriting a layout.
Yes.
Whereas a brownfield project is more you're doing an upgrade to an existing building. Most of the layout is already set in stone. You might change around some racking configuration, but it's more of a project to optimize
Yep.
rather than design a new facility.
Yeah. And being SaaS now, you can help with that process.
Well, being SaaS now, especially when we're designing a new facility, we don't have to be constrained with just what the current product can do. We can say, hey, let's design the facility in the way that makes the most sense for the operation. Let's design the future operation that we're going to have in 2 years. And then let's work backwards on what our gaps are. And with a SaaS product, when we identify those gaps, now we've got a 2 year runway to say, gaps 1 and 2 will deliver in 3 months. Gaps 4 and 5, you're actually going to get closer to go live. The other gaps, not critical for go live, you're going to get it later. But we're able to align any of those gaps with those projects.
Yeah. Got it.
But the main goal is just we don't want to be constrained in the facility design.
Yes. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, because I feel like, especially with the last couple of years, there's been so much new construction of big box distribution centers that have allowed all this growth to like manifest. And then all these clients, like we've never gone through more new inventory than any cycle I've been a part of in 20 years. So I feel
Oh,
like it's
wow.
probably more relevant than ever.
Yeah, I'm actually not too surprised to hear that, especially with like automation costs for warehousing
Yes.
decreasing as well. And so it's a lower barrier of entry there. So as people are thinking about new warehouses or changing warehouses, they want to make sure they're getting facilities that they can implement automation in the future.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm thinking they're looking more at the new facilities rather than existing.
Yes. And I was thinking of when your experience started and when AI started. So you managed a warehouse before we had a lot of this, and
Yeah.
then you jumped to the other side as it was getting cool or cooler, or like having more like a potential and more like evolution. So that's got to be
Yeah.
interesting to then talk to like warehouse managers that now have these tools available to them and like what a difference it has made to them and how that might change how they do things.
Yeah, for sure. So I wish I had those tools when I was a warehouse manager. Kind of for me, in the context of a warehouse as well as our software, I find our happiest customers, and not necessarily only for us, but rather the happiest warehouse managers that I've seen are the ones that have taken the time to really understand the configurations within whatever system they're using, and then learning how they can manipulate that the best for their operation. So kind of the warehouse managers of today need to be a lot more tech savvy than warehouse managers in the past. So with the advent of
I
AI
believe
now,
that. That's got to be like, yeah, like a table stakes. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. You always picture the warehouse manager as the grumpy old man that, is just telling people what to do with a clipboard. You don't think a bit about them as, the workforce of today where everything is happening with AI. You're crunching large amounts of data. You're investigating issues of what happened on your dock from last night using data. So it's a key skill set now for any warehouse manager. But with the advent of AI now, the warehouse managers that were tech savvy are seeing this as a fantastic tool to improve their operation even further, especially when you've got WMS systems that have some AI capabilities embedded in to help you with analytics, to drive insights, or just even answering questions like how you can do something. For us, we've been exploring how to integrate these different types of features into the product. But for me, from a warehouse manager's lens, the most important thing for them is not being afraid of these tools and jumping in, right? And I see both sides of some warehouse managers willing to do that. And I even talked to a warehouse manager a couple weeks ago that had never even tried ChatGPT yet, right?
Yes.
So we get both ends of the spectrum.
You're like, what? I'm already on Gemini. You missed that whole wave? No. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a warehouse manager now, it's another tool for you to use in being able to look at all of this data, right? As a warehouse manager, half your job is people management, and the other half is learning how you can get insights from the data that you have.
Yeah. And you can't help with the people part so much. Yeah.
Yeah, the software can only do so much on the people side.
If you could help me understand more of like where people are on the maturity of their like organization when they usually find you or you find them and like this is a good fit for them. I imagine this isn't their first one, or it could be, or like where do you guys fit in the lane?
Yeah, so usually for us, this is not your first WMS. We have had some instances where some companies have grown really large without a WMS, and then we have been their first WMS. But that's definitely the
Like a
exception rather than the
hyperscaler or
rule.
someone that, yeah.
But so normally for us, yeah, you're using an existing WMS, you're looking to expand it further, and uh, one of the things that we do really well is our software is very customizable to your operation without having to make code changes. So even from a SaaS perspective, one of our differentiators compared to our competitors is you can make these customizations to tailor the software to your operation, but it's still fully upgradable throughout our release cycle. So we
That's
preserve all of those changes as part of the product. You're not paying to upgrade a mod or making code changes in the future. It's all stuff that you can build on your own using our software and it continues to work. Like, for example, if you want to start showing some images of complex picks to a picker because they're picking red pens instead of blue pens and it's always mispicked. You can say, by user, I want to start showing this image to them saying, this is how the pens look. This is the right one. I can do it by other criteria as well. And you can do that entirely without any code within our system as a warehouse administrator, right? You can then even just say, hey, anytime this person picks it, I want to generate an email to send to someone, or we've got a pretty powerful rules engine on how you can trigger that. And now I'm talking about our software and I forgot what your question is.
Yeah, like, where people are in the, maturity or, like, what size or what, like, is the where people are at when they usually find you and you're a good fit for them.
Yeah. So people are normally in a growth stage in their company when they're looking for us, and we end up being a good fit. I'm not entirely sure on how they find us or we find them. The sales team does a fantastic job of this,
Yes.
but typically it's a mid-sized company that's growing into a larger space. We do have some customers that are a little bit on the smaller side, but most of our customers are larger networks. Mostly, I'd say about half of our customers are in the healthcare space. We're
Healthcare
running
is
a lot of
blowing up.
large
It's a huge
healthcare.
segment in the future for sure.
Yeah. We're running the distribution operations for a lot of the large healthcare networks across the US.
Yeah, that's a great vertical to be in. Yeah, I could see, like, once you're in there, you're probably in there for a long time and, like, can grow together. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's what I've learned about the healthcare industry is competition there isn't really a thing. There, people are competing with each other, but you're more focused on patient care than anything else. So what I've loved about getting to know this industry is people are willing to share with our other customers. So I've got one customer in one region that's learning to do something. If I have a different customer in another region, those customers will just talk to each other, leave us out of the loop, and share best practices, which, like, you don't see that in any other industry, right? Like,
Yeah.
you would see that company as a competitor. You would never talk to them. And if you do, it's more animosity than anything else. But here it's no, everyone's focused on patient care and are willing to share everything that they're learning.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like, how you would hope it could be everywhere. And
Yeah.
yeah, it leads to like better patient outcomes. And then
Exactly.
ultimately, yeah, for everybody's a winner on that.
Our customers even formed their own user group of our users where they're meeting without us just to talk about the software, how they're using it, share best practices. So when I started at Texas, I learned about that and I was just amazed. I was like, this is so cool that this industry is so willing to collaborate.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best. Cool. And then so you're familiar with other industries too, like 3PLs, I imagine.
Yep.
Have you worked with many of those? And what's your experience been?
We have a lot of
If I don't
3PLs
say
that are
3PL at least 10 times, then I don't feel like I've done it justice, like, making sure, like, we've, cracked the nut on that one.
Yeah. I mean, so the thing with 3PLs is they have to conform to the desires of all of their clients. So 3PLs end up having to run pretty complex operations because they're, within a building, you're not only running one operation. Maybe if you've got 10 clients in there, you're running 10 different operations with the same people. And each of those clients wants something slightly different. They want some reporting for their inventory. They want you to pack something in a certain way. So we've got a lot of 3PL customers as well. And that's another area that we've kind of thrived in just with our platform that our products are built on, because we're able to give 3PLs the tools to tailor their operation individually for each of those clients. It's almost like they're getting a completely different software that they customize for that client. But now they're able to repeat that for every single client that they have and be able to give that unique, tailored experience using that same software on our side.
I could see that'd be a huge differentiator of how that could make their life easier or, like,
Yeah.
do a better job for their customers.
For sure, and it's also changed my mindset for feature development, right? So now when I'm thinking about a feature with our 3PL customers, rather than designing it in a rigid way, we always think about, okay, how do we make this as flexible as possible? And all the time, the devs come back to me is like, V, what's the use case for this? And more often than not, I would say, hey, I don't know, but our 3PL customers are going to find a weird way to use this.
Yes. That's
So the
like
team has
kids.
started.
That's like kids and cardboard. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
what it was intended for, it's what's going down now.
Exactly. So we try to build the tools that these different companies can use and leverage. We try to make the basic version of that tool plug and play so you can just use it out of the box, but have enough in there that you can customize it as needed.
Yeah. Do you think about the transitioning from, one getting into, like, implementation and how to make that as, seamless as possible? I gotta
Yeah,
imagine
I
that's
mean,
a friction that's tough for people sometimes. That's a risk that, like, that's something that could go wrong that, like, probably is on the top of everyone's mind.
for sure. And it's a continuous effort for us to try to improve our implementation process. I won't mention names of other software I've used, but I've been in implementations that have gone horribly wrong. And, we've got our weekend cut over, and by the end of the first day, we're already behind and we fall further and further behind for the week. Um, and then in that example, actually, it took us 2 months to recover and get back on time. So I felt the pain of poor implementations. So
Yes.
when we design our software, we definitely think about how we can improve the implementation process. From my end, what I can do about it is designing features that are plug and play. As easy as possible to go flip a switch and start using them, rather than having a lot of different configuration steps behind the scenes before you can even start using a feature. And WMS is by nature are configuration heavy, right? So we're trying to minimize that as much as possible. And I can say for sure that anything new that's coming out, we've consciously thought about how we remove a lot of that configuration.
Yeah. Do you find, people come to you with a lot of preconceived notions of, like, what it should be, could be, what it isn't? Or, like, I gotta imagine you have a lot of that that's, from people that, like, have less experience or have had a bad experience, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we get a bunch of different questions. Like the people that have had the bad experience will typically come to us with some very tailored, niche questions about specific functionality
This one thing's
that,
not gonna get me, is it? Yeah.
yeah, um, which is also bad because now you're laser focused on that, assuming the rest of the software works as you think it does. But no, you're actually buying new software. You should learn about how the whole software package works because there's probably going to be other areas that our software does differently from whatever you were using before. So I get questions like that all the time about specific niche cases. We get questions from prospects around, can we do certain things that they've currently been doing? And for those, hopefully for us, the answer is usually yes. But when the answer is no, and I'm brought into those conversations, I always try to probe into, okay, hey, what's the use case? Is this something that will have value for us to actually build into the product? So there's also been many cases with prospects where you said, okay, yeah, this actually, we don't have this today, but it makes sense for us to build it. And we'll build it as part of your project to make sure by the time you go live, that feature is in there.
Yeah.
We also do a big effort of, if a customer wants to do something weird, we've got a team internally. We call them the squad, and the
I was gonna say
squad
the
will go
weird
assess.
features team. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is without even looking at it as a feature yet, we'll say, okay, this is the requirements that the customer has. With how customizable and flexible our platform is, how can we solve this requirement without doing a single code change? So, and I'd say about 80% of the time, the squad is able to come up with a solution that works for the customer. So you can go live right away. In the future, we might expand and build that natively so that it's plug and play. But initially, we always try to say, okay, hey, can we do this without code to unblock a customer today? So it's a pretty cool that we've got that platform and we can leverage that for use cases like that.
Yeah, I have found so many of the startups out there are all like overlaying onto WMS systems to like further optimize. I have to imagine you guys keep that in mind that that's an industry and like you'd like to do it so well that those guys aren't even necessary because like all the gaps have been plugged. But like, how does that ecosystem, like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, so I try to evaluate those on a case by case basis, right? One of the biggest challenges in product management is there's always a long list of things you want to work on, and there are
Yeah.
never enough resources.
We always open the scroll and then write it at the bottom of the scroll and then roll it back up and yeah, get back
Yeah,
to work.
exactly. But for me, when we have requests from customers or we learn about these different partners that are doing something weird with WMS data or on top of WMS data, I always pay attention because, hey, if they're doing something cool and they're experts at this one thing, in some cases, I'd prefer to build an integration with them and say, hey, we've got the flexibility for our customers to use them and buy their services if needed, but they're experts at this. And I don't want to become an expert at this. So I'm very open to those integrations. And we've actually got a few in the works right now of some of those smaller niche players that we're working with to build those integrations. But yeah, we know we're not perfect at everything, but there are some companies that have picked one problem to solve and they've become experts at solving that one problem. So why not leverage their expertise and build an integration?
Yeah, make it easier. Yeah. I love it because there's too many specialties. Like you can't cover them all. It's just not a practical way of doing it.
Yeah. So actually, I've got an interesting example on this one. We have a customer that needs to be able to containerize vaccines. And trying to figure out what vaccines to put in a box is actually very complicated. If it's a frozen vaccine, it needs a special box. You need to pack the box with other materials and diluents that go in there. But so it
Yes.
becomes a very complex algorithm to figure out containerization. And for this customer, so initially we went to the squad. Our squad actually came up with a no code solution of being able to resolve this just using our interfaces.
Yes.
So we were able to meet that customer's needs right away. But in talking to that customer, we know that their needs for this are going to evolve. They're going to have additional complex use cases that are only going to be like applicable for this one vaccine that they just created, and it's
Yeah.
only going to be for that one. And I don't want to have to write code every single time to figure out how to containerize that, or even we were able to use our low code platform to solve it once. But to do that exercise every single time will get very tedious for the customer. So for that, we learned about Pacurate, they solve the problem of containerization. So we
Yes.
partnered with Pacurate and we're now building an integration with them to solve use cases like this in the future that help us permanently solve this problem when a customer has this without us having to write that code ourselves.
Yeah. In a way that they're excited about. Like it
Yeah.
gets it done in a like a seamless way or like,
And
yeah.
I
Interesting.
love talking about this example is because it highlights the power of our product to say that we're flexible enough to meet your needs today. It might be a little bit more tedious, but we can do it today. But in the long term, we still want to improve your user experience and make this easier to do, knowing that you're going to have more and more complex cases like this. So that's where we'd rather work with a partner that is an expert in this space.
Yeah. Trust in the squad. Yes. The squad always provides. I love it. And then we've dusted through a good amount of our time without talking about any of the other platforms that you guys have that is within your domain of expertise. So you had mentioned a WCS and maybe another one or two. Those are in
Yeah.
your domain, or those are in other domains?
So we no those are within my domain. So we have our WCS or warehouse control system. It's called a subset of our warehouse management system, or
Yes.
tightly coupled to it at least, where we can work with different hardware partners for warehouse automation and be able to communicate with them. Then we have our warehouse execution system, which is not a product officially on our price list yet, but we've got two customers that are currently piloting some beta versions of that product. But for us, you can think of our warehouse execution as the brain sitting on top of the WMS. Our Wes is going to start recommending to supervisors different actions that they can take to improve the operation. Move Alex from zone A to zone B because zone B is falling behind, and Alex is a good picker. He's going to pick it up really quickly. So start giving users those recommendations. Start analyzing large amounts of data of transactions that are happening and drive insights from that a human just won't be able to consume that much data that quickly and analyze it. So that's a new product that we're heavily investing in right now and hoping to launch over the next year. So kind of those three are my main products. I've got some peripherals around our TMS solution as well as our delivery management, which is just routing and delivery of parcels. And then kind of at the broader suite for Texas, we've got products that are, we have point of use in healthcare systems, ERP, kind of the full end-to-end distribution. So this is just our elite side, which is more on the industrial side. And then we've got our Omni WMS, which is focused on retail as well. But I don't really have much to do on that side.
Yeah, let's stick with your domain for sure. With a control and execution, if they don't, like, if people have it now, it's just not within the umbrella, or are there people that, like, I guess the brains is currently like becoming more robust with AI, I would imagine. Like that's
Yeah,
the real like news, or like a what is like a changing that with
yeah.
control. If it's not you, it's like an integrator, or someone else that's in that space that might be more connected to the warehouse automation, that would be their control or their execution.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, for the control side, on our side, we'll work
I'm
with
only
an
in third grade
integrator.
in this space, so I've at least like figured it out a little bit, but by no means like I'm still trying to figure out where the most value is, and like understanding that to help like provide more insights for my team and for people listening.
Yeah. So our approach on the control side is we'll work with integrators and hardware providers to make sure that we can connect with them and run the operation. But we don't want to be doing those PLC level controls of controlling the robots. Those guys are experts at it. On our side, we've got generic interfaces where we can connect to like 99% of warehouse automation that's out there already.
Okay.
But no, we don't want to actually control the conveyors. We don't want to control the robots. Those are all very highly specialized
Me
things that a
neither.
bunch of companies are experts at. um, and then on the execution side, when I started 4 years ago, we had a vision on where we wanted to go. And my predecessor, Rick, actually had a fantastic vision of where we wanted to go for execution. And in laying that out, our vision over the last couple of years with the advent of AI hasn't changed at all. But
Okay.
how we're achieving that vision is now we've got a much bigger toolbox of getting there faster. So really the advent of these new AI tools has accelerated our development on that, and we're able to get to that vision much quicker.
Love it. How cool is that? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. It's such an exciting time to be involved in software development right now.
Yeah.
It's high pressure, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. If we zoom out, what else is exciting for you when you think of like those topics? Like industry wise, how it flows into your work, and just like things that are like excited to see come to fruition.
Sure. So That's something I haven't actually spent a lot of time thinking about. I mean, I do a lot of research on what's changing in AI just because I find it fun and learning about the technology. But for me, the pace of change is both exciting and terrifying.
It's
Like,
fast.
for example, we built our first Gen AI chatbot last year in, I want to say May, right? And the technology that we used to build that Gen AI chatbot, like we were able to get it to answer questions around, hey, what's the status of my FedEx truck? And it will look at the individual commands and orders and answer it accurately. But the tech stack we used for it is entirely obsolete today, right? So that was, 7 months ago. What we were using is
In
outdated technology.
25. Yeah, yeah. Not
Yeah,
last year. Yeah, yeah.
no, no. It's so that pace of change is terrifying
You're like,
as
I shaved this morning and it already grew back. Yeah.
yeah. But it's also very exciting, right? ChatGPT recently announced or not announced, but launched their native AI browser.
Yeah.
And if you tried using that, it can start taking over and doing actions for you. So just imagining about how that impacts software developers in the future, and if ChatGPT is doing it, you can expect this to be standard functionality in all browsers in a few years at most, right? If not sooner. So how does that change our product, and how does that change the way our users are going to start interacting with our products? So it's exciting to think about that and the capabilities that it unlocks,
Yes.
but it's also a little bit hard to imagine what's going to be next.
Yes. Your product manager. This is your forte, right? You get to like
Yeah, yeah.
feel anxiety based on figuring this part out.
Yeah, anxiety, and you know what, at the end of the day, I tell people this is the best job I've had. In my career so far, I've really enjoyed learning about these problems and then, well, experiencing the problems myself first off in a warehouse and
Yes.
now solving those problems with software.
Yes.
And so going through that has been immensely rewarding.
Yes. So reach out to the Sarahs of the world and take Sarah out to lunch the next time you see her to thank her.
Definitely.
I love it. I think we're good for the time being, V. I feel like we could go for a while and like it's just the start, but I'm excited that you spent time and like grateful for you like making yourself available with your busy schedule and including your cat in the conversation is always a plus.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Cool. We'll be in touch. We'll catch you
Okay,
later.
take care.
Yep. Bye
Bye.
bye.